Welcome to Mark's
Red Rum.
Murder
Red Rum.
Mystery
Red Rum.
Monday.
No, and here is the woman who helps draw us through Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. Courtney, everyone.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. So, Courtney, sorry for your wait, but I'm glad you are here.
No, I mean, I don't really have, I'm here.
Yeah, it's
so.
good. So you're saying you didn't have a pressing appointment?
I'm saying, I'm here, so I can wait. And it's good to see Brett. It's hard to follow Brett. I mean, it's hard to follow Sting, really.
Yeah, Brett's got always a good presence. I agree. But you have always a riveting tale to tell. And what is it this week?
This week, I am covering the Children of Thunder, which is a cult. Of how many people do you think are in this cult?
Yeah, right. How many people do you have for it to be a real cult type thing?
Yeah.
Children of Thunder, I've never heard of. So I'm guessing maybe 500. Not even. I'm going to say 150.
Okay, that's close. Fewer. There were 3.
That was like Kim's guess on the Sting tickets.
It was.
Yeah, nowhere close.
It was.
Yeah.
Someone had raised that question when something I was listening to over the weekend. I thought, how many people do you need to have a cult?
So there are only 3 in this cult.
There's only 3 in this cult.
Yeah.
But they are from the Bay Area.
But they are from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And it's a cult of, and we're big on our cults in the Bay Area.
And to be fair, they're very passionate.
Okay. You're right. That makes up for the numbers. Yeah.
This was a story actually sent in by a Mark Thompson fan, John Watson. So I want to thank him.
Oh, yeah. John's very active
story.
and good in the chat and stuff.
And I did, I just want to mention that one of my sources was the Religion News blog, which I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
But
Never
in
miss
addition
it.
to just
It's fantastic.
Okay. Yeah.
I never had heard of this story. And in my research, I realized that we're coming up actually on the, unfortunately, it's been 10 years since one of the cult members had passed. And so the timing was somewhat interesting. But the story in and of itself, I thought, was gripping. And I am trying to focus on stories in and around the Bay Area. So
Right. So 10-year anniversary, Bay Area.
Yep.
Tell us the story, please.
All right. So Children of Thunder. That actually, the title comes from a biblical story. I know that's shocking. But it was founded by 2 brothers. And the 2 brothers are Glenn Taylor Helser and Justin Helser. But Glenn Taylor actually goes by Taylor. So I'm going to be referencing him as Taylor throughout the story. And they were both Mormons, devout Mormons, born into a very devout Mormon family. But early in his life, Taylor, who is the older brother, was really favored by the parents. And they actually started to believe that he was a prophet sent by God to help with the return of Christ.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. So there was a little bit of a complex on his side and his younger brother's side, as you could imagine.
I don't think Christ needs help with returning. I mean, that's the thing. I think Christ can handle it on his own.
I know. And actually, at the ripe age of 14, he started to make all the decisions for the family because he had been so elevated.
I see.
To this role of prophet. And his parents affectionately called him number 1 and his brother number 2, which again, I'm sure really served to those 2 complexes that they had, one being a God complex and one being an inferiority complex.
Gosh.
But they also had a
This
plan.
is a man with anger. This is a man that has resentment towards
That would
you.
build resentment if I were if I were number 2, I would be resentful after a while.
Yes, exactly. In addition to having this God complex and this idea that he was a prophet, Taylor wanted to take over the LDS church. And so he started to plan this takeover.
That's a Latter-day Saints, is that what it stands for? The Mormon Church.
Yeah. So he goes to school, he graduates, he actually joins the National Guard. He goes on his mission.
Right.
He gets to go to Brazil, and his brother goes to Texas, which I might argue is also playing into those 2 complexes.
Wow.
So he goes to Brazil, he comes back, he gets married, he has 2 kids, he marries a woman named Anne. He becomes a stockbroker at Morgan Stanley, and this is all happening up until August 1998. Now, he was born in 1970, to give you some context as to his age. But in 1998, he says, I can't do this anymore. He wants to leave his wife. He wants to do what all normal Mormons do, which is sleep around and take drugs and drink alcohol. So he decides he's going to leave the church and he's going to pursue building out his own followership,
I see.
which is this Children of Thunder.
The Mormon church was a bit too restrictive for him, is what you're
Yes,
saying. He wanted to,
exactly.
he wanted to live a little.
I mean, he wanted to help usher back Christ,
Yeah.
but while taking LSD and going to strip clubs.
You don't know
Which is-
how you lay down
know.
the runway, the landing runway for
Exactly.
the return of
So this
the
is
Lord.
Taylor, if anybody's watching. If you go to the next slide, you'll see his brother Justin. This is
Right.
Justin. These are both shots from San Quentin. If you go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay. Yes. So this
That's
is
not a
woman.
shot from San Quentin, I
No,
don't
this
think.
that is not a shot from San Quentin. This is Taylor's girlfriend, Carrie Mendoza. He meets Carrie after he leaves his wife in 1998 at a bar. She's a cocktail waitress. And so he starts
She's very
to-
attractive.
Yes. Well, this is one of her shots from Playboy.
Oh, she was a Playboy model. Wow.
Yes. So he starts to date her, and he comes up with this idea that if I can get Carrie into Playboy, I can start to raise money for my cult. In addition to several other ideas he had, which included forming a escort service called the Feline Club,
Wow.
where he was asking Carrie to bring some of her friends.
Ooh, it's a wild
exactly.
idea.
Yep.
That just might work.
Yep.
It seems like he really got away from the Mormon thing.
I mean, yeah, definitely. When he decided to leave, he really left. He really committed to leaving and trying to fundraise in very different ways than you would normally fundraise to help bring a sermon, right? And religious
but let's
teachings
be
to
so
people.
all of these things, the escort service,
Yes.
all this other stuff,
The drugs.
This is all in service of bringing enough money in so that he could aid in the return of the Lord.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. He wanted to raise $20 million.
Okay.
And so this was part of his plan. He had some other stuff, which I'm not going to bring up. But
What's
I
a guilty
actually-
pleasure you have?
I had
to
heard that his escort club or his escort service was also called Intimacy. So I have two different names. I feel like the Feline Club would have been something that I accidentally signed up for. It's a
Oh, because
very,
thinking it was-
unassuming name.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
But the other name I heard for it was Intimacy. But Carrie leaves. She can't deal with this, and actually she decides to leave this 3-person cult. She's the third person, right? We've got Taylor, the older brother, number 1, and Justin, number 2. Carrie decides to leave. She gets a call from Playboy, and they ask her to be the centerfold in September of that year.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
that is crazy.
Taylor's plan comes to fruition, but she's already left the Children of Thunder. She is no longer there.
Too bad. That would have been the great thing to, spread the word about Children of Thunder.
Exactly. So so Taylor ends up going to a murder mystery party that's hosted by the Mormon Church, which sounds like a lot of fun.
Wow.
And this Mormon murder mystery party is at a house in Walnut Creek, and there they meet the final and new third participant in Children of Thunder, which is Don Godman. If you go to the next slide, yes, this is Don Godman.
That's Dawn. Okay.
So they meet Dawn and they bring Dawn into Children of Thunder. She ends up moving into a home with the 2 brothers in Concord, California. And they begin to
Concord, yeah,
Concord.
right,
And
yeah.
they begin to plot out other ways that they can raise money for Children of Thunder. I will say he had these 12 principles of magic that were really like the sort of prevailing ideology and thoughts and ways that you would live your life.
So we
within
had
Children
real
of Thunder.
he
Yes.
had real rules and
And-
laws.
We have
You know-
processes and protocols and standards.
Right, he had processes and protocols, is what you're saying.
And who am I to judge these principles? But I
Right.
will read the first 2, which is 1, I am already perfect, and therefore nothing I do can be wrong. And then the second one, which is there is no such thing as right and wrong, which I feel like they contradict one another, just like putting that out there. But there were 12 of them. And really,
I
they were
offer
about
this sincere apology to you today.
Yeah.
living lives of good principles and in the service of the Lord.
Yeah. Feels like he may have to walk some of this back
I
later.
apologize to all who have been hurt.
So,
I apologize to every preacher and pastor.
Yeah, it does feel
yes,
that way.
exactly. So July 30th, year 2000, the Helser brothers put together this plan and execute this plan to kidnap and steal money from a couple who Taylor knew from his time as a financial consultant and financial investor. And so they steal $100,000 from this couple called the Steinmans. They force them to write the checks for $100,000.
There they are. They look like such a sweet couple.
I know.
Ivan and Annette.
Yeah, and I think the plan just goes wrong. They end up murdering this poor innocent couple. Yeah,
No, I guess I had to know that was coming at some point in the story. Yeah.
Yes, and so this is the first 2 murders of 5 that they end up committing.
Oh my gosh!
So
Look
if
at those sweet people. It's just awful.
So if you go to the next slide, as part of this very well thought out plan, Justin convinces Dawn to try to put the checks into the bank. And so he has her dressed in something inconspicuous, which is a lime green tracksuit, a silver cowboy hat, and red boots.
Okay, so she has
and
a
a
lime
wheelchair.
jumpsuit.
Yes.
If you're not watching, you're and she's in a wheelchair and she's wearing a hat.
Yes. With red boots, cowboy boots, and giant sunglasses. And his thought was, if I dress her in something that's bizarre, they'll only remember that. They won't remember like the details of how she looked, just in case we get caught for having stolen this money from the Steinmans.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is often how I dress when I want to keep a low profile.
It's really.
And this is
You
gonna.
just don't get it.
You don't get
You
it.
don't.
You know.
It's going to surprise you both, but the bank caught on immediately.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the explanation was the bank thought she's dressed too warmly for the day. Really?
Really?
There
That
was
the
nothing
thing?
else
Warmly?
than part of
Nothing
this
stood out to you
that
besides
stood out to you that she was
Right.
stealing this money.
Oh.
So,
Oh, Dawn.
I know.
Yeah,
so
Dawn.
just to kind of go through this a little bit more quickly, they end up killing Justin's girlfriend at the time. Her name was Selena Bishop.
Because she was gonna talk. Is that the
Yeah,
reason?
she was going to talk. Actually, the bank accounts that they were putting the money in, she had opened. And then they end up killing, unfortunately, Selena's mother and her mother's boyfriend. Also because they had seen the brothers and they had seen the car that they were driving. And they thought that when the cops came about Selena's death, that they would talk about her new boyfriend and ultimately find the 2 brothers, Taylor and Justin.
Wow.
So in August of 2000, the police have enough evidence after finding these bodies and deaths that point them in the direction of the brothers. So they go to arrest the brothers. They end up arresting Dawn and Justin in the Concord house.
Concord, yeah.
But Taylor, the number 1 brother, he gets away and he runs to a house and he's begging the homeowner for a gun and drugs and a car. They won't give it to him. So he cuts off his ponytail, leaves it with them and runs away.
Wow.
Again, I would suggest none of this was really well thought out or planned.
Yeah.
But ultimately he is captured. They find the bodies actually in 9 duffel bags.
Gosh,
That are
what
spread
brutal-
out.
what
Yeah.
brutal people.
I know. And they had sort of mixed all of the bodies to try to confuse the authorities.
And they dumped him in the Delta?
And they dumped them in the Delta.
Wow.
The brothers were both
We've got
found,
pictures up right we got pictures
Yeah.
up right now. If
So
you
that's the police and
fishing the stuff out of the Delta. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. This is August of 2000.
this is August of 2000. So both brothers and Dawn go to trial. Dawn flips on the brothers and she testifies against them. Taylor ends up pleading guilty to all, I think there were 18 charges, which ruins Justin's plan of trying to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. And so the Taylor is killed. And then Justin ends up committing suicide in San Quentin. And I believe Dawn is still in jail, but alive.
Taylor is killed in San Quentin?
He is, yes.
Okay.
He is. He has 5 death sentences for the 5 victims. And so he is killed, I believe it was August of 2005.
But let me just get this straight. He was executed by the state, is
Yep.
what you're saying. Okay,
Yes.
that's different.
Sorry,
okay.
yes.
And the other dude was committed suicide in prison. And then she continued on and still is still there.
Yes. He was executed. The number 1 brother, number 2 committed suicide, and then Dawn is the 3rd and last member of the cult. I believe she's still alive in prison.
Wow. What a tale.
And so this is the Children of Thunder cult. Yes.
Man.
I know.
What, any questions? I'm entertaining questions, Kim, if you'll have any questions, or Tony, maybe you have questions for Courtney.
Kim, I don't know where she got that lime jumpsuit, so I don't have any
you're
references
out of luck on that. Maybe
to that.
I was
eBay.
wondering.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
You wonder
It's
though,
a-
what would make someone do? What would make her meet these 2 guys at a party and go, "Yeah, that's something I want to be a part of."
Right.
I know,
I mean-
it's so true. I know.
Let's
it's
do that.
interesting because even Carrie, the bombshell Playboy,
Yeah. What happened
even
there?
during trial, she was still talking about how charismatic Taylor was and
my
how
gosh.
engendering of trust and like how much he was a leader. And she was still, even after all of this, attesting to that. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Something that this country has really never witnessed.
Yeah, it's really true. It's like
I
there's
know.
never been anything like this.
There's never been anything like this.
Exactly.
It's
It is
true.
wild how these guys were just so malevolent. They're so awful to the
know.
core.
Yeah.
They attract these, attractive people around them. Malevolence
Yes.
a dang word. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it was, I guess that's what happens when you have your 14-year-old son, making the decisions for the family.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot.
it
Yeah.
starts
It starts to go to his head. Yeah.
Exactly.
Courtney, what great work you've done.
Yeah.
A real good one today. So thank you, Courtney,
Oh,
everybody.
Thank you so much for having me.
Murder
course, we love
Mystery
having you.
Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, thank you. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.